My name is Dan Dorval, and I'm President and CEO of Dorval and Chorne Financial Advisors. I am an independent certified financial planner and author of my book, Financial Success for the Rest of Us, Reality-Based Financial Planning for Mainstream America.
Hi, my name is Leah Woodley. I'm an associate financial advisor with Dorval and Chorne Financial Advisors. Our conversations discuss what it means to do quality of life planning in all areas of your life. Dan, we meet with married couples quite frequently, and it seems like the woman wants to make sure she's okay, and the man, sometimes it seems like he just doesn't care. Seems like he just does not care at all. Like it's kind of like he feels like he just knows everything's okay. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, so one of the things I learned when I first started is I was working with engineering contacts, and they were mostly men. And then I started to work with nurses, and nurses were mostly women. And along the way, I very much observed a clear cut difference between men and women and how they view financial planning because what happens, and this is, as we stereotype about genders, right? You're never going to be completely accurate. But one of the things that we saw over and over again is women would come into a meeting and their basic question was some form of, will I be okay? And that question is inherently a planning question. That is us looking at their resources, trying to align them as effectively as we can with their goals and saying, yes, it looks like you're on track to be able to do that, or no, you're not. Here are some things you might want to consider changing to get there. What men do, and yes, I am a man, and yes, I do this as well, is we assume we are going to be okay. And what that means is we just look at it and say, well, we'll do whatever we need to do in order to make it work. So I'm not too worried. That's inherently not a planning question, right? And so when they come in, they're like, what are the smartest financial things I could do? Or what's the best investment I could do? And when I start to talk about, well, what are you trying to accomplish? They go, well, I want to make as much money as possible. Or they oftentimes want to align their resources with things. Like they're more inclined to want to buy toys or kind of think in terms of status symbols or things like that, where women just want to know if they're going to be secure and going to be okay. And we see this consistently across a lot of different people. So this is a core of our financial planning, and why financial planning, the way we do it based on quality of life, is so important to women in particular.
Yes, as a woman, I have the inherent need for security. If I feel insecure in any way, it is going to stress me out. I'm not going to be okay until a solution has been made, a plan has been laid out. I need to know concretely that we're going to be okay. So that idea of, oh, I'm going to just do whatever I have to do to make it work, that does not work for me. I want to know. And I think that's why we have so many women that come in wanting to see and wanting to get that reassurance that they are going to be okay. Um, and it's like night and day. The perspective between men and women is like night and day. I think sometimes we see women having to drag their husbands in to meet with us because the man just, he's like, we're okay, we're going to be okay, and that woman just wants that reassurance.
Well, I don't think we've talked about this, but how does your husband feel about that need that you have for like planning and security?
I don't think he quite gets it fully. He is definitely in the boat, like we're going to be okay. um some things he is more like, he cares about retirement, and he's more um concerned with that than other things. But just day to day, he's like, whatever. He doesn't really want to be involved in the finances. He doesn't want to get into the weeds of everything. I know we've had the conversation about financial planning not being linear and not when it comes to contributing to retirement, it doesn't have to be linear. But he is a person that wouldn't want to cut back on their contributions to achieve certain goals that we have. So that's something I'm working on him with. But just overall, yeah, we have that difference with me needing security. And it's not just financially, just in all things. I need to know
Oh,
that I'm
absolutely.
secure. And he just doesn't quite get it.
Well, and what happens is in the financial services world in general, like historically speaking, it is a very male dominated field. So there are women coming into the field like you, but you see it as a very male dominated type of world. And that male dominated world inevitably geared itself towards men. So it was a sales type of culture. Oh, you want the best investment? Here, I'll show you a concept that's really smart. And it might be focused on we're going to save taxes or we're going to make as much money as we possibly can. And that was kind of a stockbrokerish insurance agent model that was geared towards selling stuff where when you start to talk about financial planning and that concept of dealing with women, well, a male dominated industry doesn't actually do that very well for a female audience. Can you talk about like your thoughts on being a woman coming into this world and seeing that difference?
Yes, I think that men and women approach things differently. I think that even working with male clients versus women clients, I think that just the thought process is different. I think women not only want to go want to look at things from a theoretical perspective, but we also want to make sure that, you know, it makes sense to our lives, and just how we approach things. We want to make sure that, you know, sometimes we're using our gut as well, going off of our gut, which I think sometimes men are just strictly practical. Not always the case, but sometimes. I think I've seen in our industry that men are really motivated by the numbers, by hitting these goals. And I think how we approach things is more geared towards women with quality of life. I think that's something that really does appeal to women because at the end of the day, we want our lives to feel complete and to feel whole and to feel secure, as we've talked about. We're not just about, oh, what is going to get me the highest return on my portfolio. I think that's really a male dominated thought. Of course, we want to get good returns on our portfolio, but that's not a driver for us. So I think that is different in this industry between men and women.
Yeah, I think that's true. And you know, we talk a lot about quality of life, and for me personally, this is a time of year with the NCAA tournament and our brackets and all those things. Like we actually took time off on the opening day of tournaments to hang out. And of course, it's one of the issues with you being in Maryland. You don't get to come hang out with us and have a good time the first day of the tournament. But why don't you talk a little bit about having Kentucky lose, your national champion pick, lose on the opening day, along with your alma mater, Akron, also losing in the first round?
So I had high hopes for Akron. So first of all, I was excited that my Zips were even in the championship. Um, I was, I honestly didn't think they were going to be Creighton, but I felt the need to be loyal. Okay. So I chose that pick out of loyalty and it failed me. However, my home team, Duquesne, did pull off the win. So I was very happy that Duquesne won. Go Pittsburgh. And then I stayed up last night with my husband watching the Kentucky game. I'm like, this is not happening. They cannot be losing to Oakland. And they lost. And I told my husband, well, I enjoyed the championship. I enjoyed these NCAA playoffs. And that is the end of my bracket. It was nice while it lasted.
You know, you make a good point though. Like the brackets and these experiences that we have, like think about that. That was an opportunity for you. You were watching that with your husband and going like this meaningless game, because normally you wouldn't care if Kentucky was playing Oakland.
When
This
not.
meaningless game all of a sudden brought a sense of connection and a shared experience. Like even if it was an outcome that you didn't want to have, you know, it's obviously not that important whether your bracket does great or not, but it gives you an opportunity to talk about these things. And we just love that, where any sense of coming together to do something in a shared way, that really enhances a lot of quality of life.
It absolutely does. It's necessary. And yes, you're absolutely correct with that. Well, thank you, Dan. This was great. I love talking with you and having these conversations. I look forward to our next conversation. I do want to let everyone know, if you know a nurse who is exemplifying quality of life by improving the quality of life of their patients, other nurses, people in their community, we want you to nominate them for the Dorval and Chorne Quality of Life Nurses Award. We want you to go and complete the application that is in the description box to nominate a nurse who is promoting quality of life. They will receive a cash award. This is going to be awarded to them on the first Thursday of every month at 12 p.m. Go ahead and nominate a nurse that you know. Thank you.
Thanks, Leah.